If you remember, after the loss to the Canucks, we talked about how the Kraken have had some pretty good and fairly complete games this season, that they've gotten some big wins in, even against a couple of pretty good teams. The problem has been stringing those games together, as they seem to only do that in every other game, while the ones in between, like the one against the Canucks, they just seem to lose focus for large periods of time, if not the entire game, either losing it in regulation or blowing leads to either lose it in overtime or whatever. So, coming into this game in Calgary against the Flames, with the Kraken coming off of that pretty good complete win at home against the Penguins 3 days prior with 2 days rest in between, the question was, could they string 2 of those games together? And honestly, I'm not really sure that they did, but they still got the win. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken go into Calgary and for the first time in franchise history, defeat the Calgary Flames 5-4. And again, no, it may not have been the best or most complete start to finish game that the Kraken have ever played, but they do find a way to come back in the end and win this one against a good Flames team. Lineup ice for the Kraken in this one, there are no changes from the lineup that we saw beat the Penguins a few nights ago, which it has to be said after last season and how changeable that lineup was. Some consistency here early on in the season, not just with the lineup, but with the lines themselves. Of course, it does also mean now for the 4th game in a row, there's no Shane Wright, and yes, again, we are going to get to that whole Shane Wright situation in a separate video here coming up soon as I can find some time. I just didn't quite have time over the weekend, but we are absolutely going to get to that whole frustrating saga as it's still unfolding. Again, though, that needs its whole separate video, so we'll handle that there. As far as this game is concerned, I did say that there were no changes to the lineup, but there was one pretty big important change, and that was in net, where I think somewhat understandably, Martin Jones, after just a couple of days ago having their first child, ends up taking this one off for personal issues, which does mean that Joey Daccord is going to get his first start of the season, coming up again because of the injury to Grubauer. And as this game goes along, we'll get to just how important having Daccord in net for this one turned out to be, which isn't necessarily to say that Jones wouldn't have been just as good, especially considering he was pretty good against Pittsburgh, but Daccord had himself a night. So getting into the game itself, I wouldn't say that it was an uneventful first half of the first period, but it was a pretty evenly played and well defensively played, like we saw in the first period against Pittsburgh, game between these two teams. Maybe with the Kraken getting a bit of the edge as far as the overall pressure is concerned, and they did have more shots on goal in this first period by the end of it. Although Calgary gets the first shot on goal, and it's a pretty nice save that Daccord has to make right out of the gate. Still, as we get to the middle of the period, the Kraken were starting to build a little bit of momentum, which is immediately killed by a Flames power play. But fortunately for the Kraken, even at 5-on-4, the good defense didn't stop here, which did kind of turn out to be true for both teams, as after the Kraken penalty kill comes up big here, the Flames penalty kill comes up big on 2 Kraken power plays, as it's still 0-0 following the first 3 penalties of the game. Still, as far as the Kraken penalty kill is concerned, coming off of their best game of the season against Pittsburgh, where they didn't allow a goal, once again they had a pretty good game tonight. Still though, even with the Kraken penalty kill doing its job here in the first on the 1 Flames power play of the period, after almost 6 straight minutes of 5-on-4 action and 2 Kraken power plays to 1 Flames power play, the score is still 0-0 coming out of the end of all of that, which of course means 2 Kraken power plays that didn't go anywhere. But anyway, as that all finishes, the Flames are able to press back at the Kraken end of the ice, where the puck ends up behind their net and Joey Daccord goes out to play it, which of course he does. He's Daccord, and I have to say, it does make for some interesting viewing, even if it does lead to some nervous moments, but Daccord likes to play the puck. It's something we've already known about him. He does so well here, pushing the puck up along the boards. It gets past at least 1 Flames player, all the way up to Bjorkstrand along the boards up by the blue line, who gets the puck off the boards quickly out to Burakovsky, who carries it through the neutral zone, drawing the attention of 2 or maybe even 3 Flames players as he carries it into the offensive zone. And as they collapse on him, he quickly gets a pass out into open ice in the offensive end, where Carson Soucy is coming into the offensive zone. He picks up the puck, carries it close to the net, fires off a shot, and scores to get the Kraken into the lead with the 1-0 score, breaking the ice, and again, Kraken on the board first. And also for Soucy, coming off of a career year in goal scoring last season, it's his first of this year, making him the 6th Kraken defender to put a puck in the net, which does also make the Kraken the only team in the NHL to have 6 defenders that have found the back of the net already in the season. Then, not long after this Soucy goal, we do get the one fight of this game between Jamie Oleksiak and Nikita Zadorov. which it has to be said is probably going to be one of the biggest fights of this NHL season across the league. Not necessarily in how exciting of a fight it was, but more the size of the combatants with 6'7" or whatever. I mean, 6'7" and 6'5" between them, and both well over 200 pounds. It was a pretty good fight. Alexiak definitely gets the better of Zadorov. Unfortunately, however, it kind of turns the momentum in the Flames' favor. And I will say that personally, I'm a little bit skeptical as to how much fights actually turn momentum of games, unless it's like the captain of a team or someone you wouldn't expect to be taking a fight taking it. That I can see really getting the bench going a bit. And I mean, also to be fair, I've never played hockey above low-tier beer league where fights are absolutely not allowed whatsoever. Still, whether it is due to this fight or not, the momentum of the game definitely shifts in the Flames' favor here. Thanks, though, in large part to some more nice saves by Daccord and net for the Kraken, as well as some pretty good defense and some block shots as well. The Kraken are able to survive the late part of this first period and get to the first intermission, still maintaining that 1-goal lead. The second period, however, does not go the Kraken way, especially in the first 10 to 11 minutes of it, which honestly wasn't really so much the Kraken playing sloppy like we saw them do against the Canucks and the Blackhawks and some of their other losses this season, and had a lot more to do, I just honestly think, about the Flames outplaying the Kraken and really laying on the pressure in the offensive zone, and especially the shots on net where Daccord had to come up with a number of massive saves in this one early in the second period, where I think in just the first 11 minutes of the second period, the Flames were outshot the Kraken something like 16-2, where the Kraken had actually outshot the Flames 10 to, I want to say, 7 in the first period. The Flames flipped that very quickly here in the second. And although the Kraken, and again Daccord in particular, are able to keep the Flames off of the board early on in the second period, even through another Flames power play, which Daccord had to come up big in specifically that power play a couple of times, it is in this first half of the second, the back half of the first half, so between like the 5 and 10 minute marks, that the Flames are able to flip the script and take the lead. As after that first power play, they maintain the momentum, and eventually they get a 4-on-2 chance going towards the Kraken net. There's not really much Daccord can do about it. The pass goes from Toffoli all the way across to Zadorov, and he finds the back of the net on a one-toucher. Daccord, really not much he could do trying to get back to the other side. The Flames tie it there, and a couple minutes later, Nazem Kadri shows why he got the contract he did in the offseason after putting up as many points as he did on the Stanley Cup winning Avalanche, as he beats, well, at least 2 Kraken players, but gets a round done and the entire Kraken defense wrapping around him to get the shot off on goal, which Daccord is able to save the first one, but with Kadri going through the crease, he's able to pick up the rebound and put that into the net. Again, Daccord makes the first save and did get kind of hit on his pad as he's trying to get to the other side with Kadri going through the crease. It does end up getting challenged for goaltender interference, and while they do touch skate to skate, it's understandable considering it was called a goal on the ice, that they don't quite find enough here to overturn it. Either way, it is now 2-1 Flames. And of course, to make matters worse, after Kadri scores this goal, the Flames almost immediately get another power play, which fortunately the Kraken penalty kill once again steps up and is able to kill this one off, a crucial one at this point in the game as everything is going the Flames' way. And this kill does kind of start to shift the momentum a bit, although it more just kind of evens things out rather than turning it back in the Kraken favor, as Seattle never really got momentum of this game back in a meaningful, consistent way, really for the rest of the game since that first half of the first period, and really at all after that fight between Alexiak and Zadorov. Still, at about the 12-minute mark of the second period, the Kraken get their first real sustained pressure in the Flames' end of the ice of the period. And while it doesn't really lead to much of anything, I mean, they get a couple of shots on goal, but no real scoring opportunities, as the Flames finally get the puck back down to the Kraken end of the ice, and by finally, I mean after about a minute, so really not that long, the Kraken are able to get it back into the neutral zone, where the Flames immediately turn it over, and it turns into a 2-on-1 break for, of all people, Alexiak and Geekie. Alexiak's got the puck carrying it in, he gets the pass off to Geekie, and Geekie buries it to give the Kraken their second goal of the game, and evening things back up. So even after all of that pressure that the Flames had all period long at the Kraken end, they only get 2 goals out of it, and just like that, with Geekie's 2-on-1 goal score here from Alexiak, we're tied up. At which point, by the way, it really felt like the Flames should be leaving this game, if not by one, maybe even multiple goals, with the difference really being Joey Daccord. I mean, even the expected goals percentage, as presented by Money Puck, showed a story of the Flames drastically outplaying the Kraken over the course of this game so far. Again, the first period kind of had its swings back and forth, but the second period was dominated by the Flames, even though they were only able to even up the game, or I guess the Kraken evened up the game. They were only able to get 2 goals out of it. Unfortunately, as we start the third period, it seems that the Flames went into the locker room, or at least came out of the locker room, with the same opinion that they should be leading this game by multiple goals. And within the first 2 minutes, they find themselves leading this game 4-2. The first of these 2 Flames goals here early on in the third comes just over a minute in, and it comes off of a lost faceoff in the Kraken defensive zone, which again was a big problem for the Kraken in this game, as they end up losing 40 of the 65 faceoffs in the game, only winning 25. And this one is immediately lost out to Toffoli. He shoots it and it goes right into the net before Daccord can even really register that the puck had been dropped. So, yeah, it's hard to put that one on Daccord too much. Again, especially considering he's the only reason the Kraken are really in this game at this point anyway. And then wouldn't you know it, but the Kraken also lose the ensuing faceoff at center ice. The puck ends up back in their end behind the net. It's batted up and down along the boards a couple of times before it goes off a couple sticks, a flame stick and then Geekies, and then right out to Trevor Lewis, who fires off a shot, and while he was screened, this is maybe the one of the 4 goals the Flames score that Daccord might have liked to have back. Either way, 17 seconds after the first goal of the period was scored, the second one goes in, and what was just 2 minutes, or actually about a minute and a half earlier, a tie game, is now a 4-2 Flames lead. But at least for the Kraken, they do end up getting a power play shortly after these back-to-back goals. However, the Kraken power play doesn't go much of anywhere. In fact, it's probably the worst Kraken power play that we've seen yet this season, as it doesn't even get a shot off a net, or really anything even close to a shot on net, and does allow a 2-on-1 odd man break the other way, shorthanded for the Flames, which the only way this doesn't end up in the Kraken net is thanks to a sprawling save by Daccord. At which point, after this Daccord save, to their credit, JT and John on the broadcast, still trying to look at this game glass half full for the Kraken, did say to mark this save from Daccord down in case the Kraken are able to make something happen late. It has to be said, at this point in the game, really didn't feel like it was going to matter that Daccord made the save as the game went along, with the Flames having drastically outplayed the Kraken for the last period plus. But the Kraken do end up getting another power play just a couple minutes later, and this time, after a little while into it, they're able to find the back of the net. It's Beniers who's kind of just carrying the puck up and down along the boards, with a couple of Flames getting closer and closer to him. Eventually, he gets a pass off to Bjorkstrand, who kind of fumbles a pass down to Wemberg. Still, Wemberg's able to get to it before a Flame can. He gets it out to the other side to Sprong, and Sprong from that spot isn't going to miss. He's got one heck of a one-timer from there. He finds the back of the net and pulls the Kraken to within 1. It's a power play goal, which they desperately needed after coming up short on 4 occasions to this point in the game. Or actually, 3 occasions. This was their 4th power play. But still, they really needed this power play goal. And it does make it feel like there's at least a chance, if they can get a fluke and another goal, that they can get this to overtime. But of course, just as you think things might actually be starting to go the Kraken way for once in this game, or at least for once in a long while anyway, a clear trip on Borgen in the offensive zone as he was trying to make himself open for a pass and a shot on goal is completely missed. There's no call there. And then right back down the other way, another, granted, pretty clear trip on Schultz is called, and Schultz, being the offender here, heads to the box, and the Flames go to the power play. So even though the Kraken just pulled to within 1, you're now sending your penalty kill, which has been one of the worst in the league, in fact, one of the 2 worst in the league to this point, out for a 4th time against a Flames team that has enough firepower to make you pay if you give them too many opportunities. And sure enough, not more than 30 seconds in the Flames power play, the puck is in the back of a net. However, it's the Flames net, as it's Yanni Gourde coming off of the bench on a change. He just isn't picked up whatsoever by Kadri, who has the puck. Not seeing him coming, Gourde is able to steal the puck from Kadri and get on a free breakaway, and he buries it into the back of the net to tie the game at 4. The Kraken with a power play goal, and then just a couple minutes later, a short-handed goal to even things up. And for Gourde, who had a heck of a game, and actually a number of these breakaway, or at least partial breakaway opportunities, is able to find the back of the net for the first time this season, becoming the 19th, I think they said, Kraken player to score already this season, which is a lot of guys that have already scored once. It's been pretty spread out as they don't have anybody with a high goal total necessarily as far as relative to the entire league. Still for Gord, good to see him finally on the board, and especially considering the opportunities he was getting in this game. Now, that's all well and good, but there still is most of a power play to kill off, and again, this is a Flames team that has the firepower to beat a Kraken power play that is still, I think at this point, 31st in the league. Fortunately, again, thanks in large part to a couple big saves by Daccord, the Kraken are able to kill off the rest of this power play, and then, shortly after that, they're pushing back down to the other end of the ice. It's an odd man break, which looks like a 4-on-1 at first, but it kind of turns into a little bit more of a 2-on-1. Either way, Eberle's able to get the pass across to Beniers, and Beniers does have to reach pretty far back to pick up the pass. He's able to do it, scoops it to a better spot, fires off the shot, and puts it into the back of the net, roofing it to the top, and giving the Kraken the 5-4 lead. Just like that, the Kraken have roared all the way back from down 4-2 here early on in this third period to take the lead, and it's Matty Beniers who does it in the same place that he scored his first ever NHL point in his first NHL game. And of course, as you know, since we have now reached that final score that you saw in the beginning, the Kraken are able to keep the Flames off of the board the rest of the way. They do kind of just go into penalty kill mode for the last few minutes of this game, and they do almost put the puck in the empty net as Tanev got it out to Beniers, but just kind of put it between his legs. Would have been kind of fun to see Beniers get a second goal in the game. It would have been his first multi-goal game of his career. Still, you'll happily take the win. The Kraken finished this one off, a game that, honestly, if not for the guy in net for them, they probably had no business winning in the first place. Still, they're able to make it happen as Daccord kept them in it long enough for them to get things turned around. And a good win, second win in the row, first back-to-back wins of the season for the Kraken. And with the win on the season, improved their record to 5-4-2, with 12 points now in 11 games, which puts them above at least hockey 500, and a chance to get to normal 500 with a third win in a row in Minnesota in a couple of nights. So again, as I've said a couple of times now, definitely not the most complete or well played from start to finish game that we've seen from the Kraken this season. In fact, the second period is probably one of the worst periods of hockey that they've played so far. Not necessarily because they were playing super sloppily or anything like that. They were just getting pressured into their end of the ice with not really any chance to get out to the other end. It was a bit of the Flames, I think, just outplaying them more than anything, and they played decent defense in front of Daccord. But Daccord is really, I think, the reason the Kraken had a chance to and eventually do come back and win this game. So when we get to the Kraken 3 stars of the game, Daccord is, for me, absolutely the first star of this game without any question whatsoever. Sure, his ending stat line as far as just your basic shots and saves doesn't look great, just a 900 save percentage, which is decent, but nothing to write home about, with, 4 goals allowed on 40 shots for the Flames. But watching the game tells a very different story from what that stat line will tell you. The downside is if Daccord puts up another performance like this, or honestly, this one might be enough, if it does come to a point where both Jones and Grubauer come back and the Kraken have to waive Daccord, a performance like this could get him picked up off of waivers, which I personally would really not like to see because I really like watching Daccord play in net for the Kraken, even if it's a bit of an adventure sometimes. I think it does also have to be said, especially after he plays as well as he did in this one, how much fun it is to watch him go out and play the puck. And it made a big difference a couple of times here. He obviously set up that first goal for the Kraken that got them going in the first period, and also came out of net a couple of other times. One that stopped a potential breakaway chance as he came all the way out into the high slot between the faceoff circles to play a puck before one of the Flames player who would have had a breakaway if he got into it could get to it. Something that I don't think either Grubauer or Jones would probably do. They would have just tried to make the save on the upcoming shot. And at least in this game anyway, even when he stayed in net, he was fantastic. Even having one play where the puck got past him, I think it bounced off the end boards and went off of his back. He was able to reach behind him and get his glove on it between his back and the goal line just before a Flame stick was going to push it over the line. Another one of his spectacular saves in this game, a couple of sprawling toe saves. Again, the big one that JT and John mentioned on that the Kraken power play was a shorthanded opportunity that he was able to stop the 2-on-1 opportunity from going in the net. Just, again, can't say enough good things about what was also Daccord's first win for the Kraken. Outside of Daccord, I think the second star probably has to go to Yanni Gourde, not because his name rhymes with Daccord and that was just fun to say, but because he probably did have the second best game of any Kraken player out on the ice. Again, 3 very good scoring opportunities, 2 of which I think actually came shorthanded, and one of those shorthanded opportunities ended up in the back of the net. And then as far as the third star of the game is concerned, I think you could go any number of different ways here. Certainly Burakovsky is an option. He had a fantastic night, especially in that play that set up the Soucy goal to start things off. Also Beniers with the game-winning goal. Geekie keeps finding the back of the net with more playing time, even if it's coming at the cost of Bright, but we're going to, again, skip over that for a later video. Ultimately, I'm going to give the third star, though, to Bjorkstrand. He has 2 assists on the night, setting up or helping set up that Soucy goal that started things off as well, and also helping set up that power play goal. Even outside of that, he was all over the ice. Probably the best forward in the defensive end for the Kraken if I had to pick one. So, good night for him and a well-earned third star. But as always, if you disagree, feel free to let me know down in the comments section who you would pick as the Kraken stars for this game. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me that Daccord should probably get one of them. I'd especially love to hear your guys' thought on Daccord's game down in the comment section as well. Some Daccord praise is definitely due, I think, for this one. And until that game in Minnesota, where we can hope to string 3 together before it gets late in the season, like happened last year, trying to do that in Minnesota. If you have made it to this point, thank you very much for watching. If you did like or enjoyed this video, there are buttons for that kind of stuff down below that help support the channel. So I'd appreciate you using them. Until next time, again in Minnesota, stay safe out there, be good to each other, God bless, and go Kraken.